Hi, and welcome to Voices from Acudemy. I am Shameem Saidoo, your host, and with me, Yousouf Neetoo. For this edition of Voices from Academy, we are more than pleased to welcome one of our partners, Indy Chatwal. Hi, Indy, and thank you for joining in today.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
As we previously announced, each session will be covering topics in relation to adult education. Today, we'll be discussing about social media, something that has been the craze for the last 10 to 15 years now. Indy has been working with Academy for the last 2 years now. So, Indy, tell us a bit about yourself and IC Media.
Yeah, of course. So we've been running for about 3 years now. We're working with Academy for 3 years, for about a year and a half now, I think. Um, so we help our clients with their Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and yeah, we help from pretty much content creation to strategy to overall management and outsourcing. We effectively run all of our clients' social media for them. So, because a lot of our clients don't have the time or the know-how to do so, so they outsource to us to get the great results for them.
Hey, Indy, good to hear from you. Quick one, how did you start? 3 years. How's business been in these 3 years as well?
Well, I mean, my background's actually restaurants. So I always ran 3 restaurants, social media from head to toe, and I realised the challenges business owners probably have with finding the time to actually post and think creatively with their posts as well. A lot of business owners have that creative block. So I thought, okay, cool. There's an area there that I like, and sort of ran with it, and that's when I launched the company. And yeah, to date we've been growing pretty rapidly, which is exciting. I just hired a new member of staff. Even throughout this COVID period, we've actually been growing, and we picked up our biggest corporate client throughout this period. So on that side of things, business is going pretty well.
Excellent. And how many of you in the team now?
So I have 5 full-time members of staff now, and two part-time contractors that we use. They're actually uni students, so they work part-time around the uni.
Nice. And do you mainly serve UK-based clients, or are you globally?
Yeah, so we have clients all over the world now. So we've got clients down in South Africa. We've got clients in Dubai. I just mentioned earlier to you guys that we've got a trip to Abu Dhabi in November, and that's actually with a client. They're flying us out there to do content creation for them. They're actually a supercar club. So they'll be they're flying a few of my team out there to be part of their content day, where they've got, I think, something like 50 Lamborghinis driving around for the whole weekend, and they've hired us to create all the content for them. So it's going to be pretty good fun.
That sounds excellent. Do they have an extra spare ticket as well?
So many of my friends have asked that. That's one of the cooler clients that we have. We have clients on the other end of the spectrum when we've got to create content for them. I mean, I've got other examples. We've got a company. So they basically manage all the public toilets at schools, universities, hospitals, and the one day that I remember doing content creation for them was we had to do a video shoot in a men's toilet. It was the most funniest thing ever. Our content has no end or no limit. It takes us to some weird and random locations. But yeah, I love it.
So, Indy, what are IC Media thoughts on COVID-19, and has it really affected your business in general?
I think in regard to social media, I think it's actually increased the amount of volume and activity there is online. More people are at home nowadays. Staff are at home, employees are at home, clients are at home. So in that sense, I think people have just realised that they need to be more digital. And those that are a bit slow in being agile and actually, I suppose, pivoting their business to being more digital are going to be left behind. And luckily, we were positioned beforehand that, I mean, most of my staff work remotely anyway. A lot of our time, all of our meetings pretty much were done on Zoom before COVID-19 happened. So in that sense, it's not really affected our business too much. If anything, it's done the opposite effect, and we've actually onboarded a lot more clients throughout this period. So, so from our point of view as a business, we've actually been doing really well throughout this period.
How about your clients, Indy? Has that had a knock-on effect in terms of obviously the current pandemic?
I think some of our clients have been really badly affected. So we had a couple of big recruitment companies that were some of our clients. They've unfortunately had to let go of a lot of their staff because obviously pretty much most industries on recruitment freeze at the moment. We also had a couple of clients in the travel industry, and obviously their business has gone down the pan, which is sad to see. But on the other side, we've got some clients that are just absolutely thriving. We've got a lot of clients in the IT industry and the tech industry, and they're absolutely smashing it. If anything, they're ramping up their online presence. So I think it really just depends on what industry you're in. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting that you mentioned that, because definitely being at home, you spend more time online. So I can see the appeal for certainly the tech-based companies to ramp up. Probably a question for you is, what would you recommend to companies out there in terms of social media presence during this COVID-19 situation? Would you say that they keep going even if they're not getting any traction or leads?
Yeah, I think so. I think you should always be active and have that goal in mind. I think there's ways of, I suppose, posting and the sort of type of content you put out there. I think now more than ever you should be a bit more sensitive with the sort of content you put out there. I think you don't want to be too salesy. It will just deter people. I think if you can try and educate your target audience and try and help them, I think they'll remember you in the long run. I've always found with sort of educational content, it just positions you as that thought leader within your industry. And when I suppose the times get better, hopefully it will pay dividends for you.
Social media has been itself a single industry and has brought around billions of users all around the world. How can you describe social media, and what are the major platforms out there?
Oh, it's difficult to describe it. It's probably the one main I suppose industry that keeps everyone connected. You've got, for example, Twitter. That is probably the number one news channel. You find out information via Twitter quicker than you probably would on the news. On Facebook, I think Facebook's one of the platforms that I think people post their pictures of their family and friends and stay engaged with older high school and schoolmates and family from around the world. Then you have Instagram to post lots of great photos, look at cool foods or locations around the world. You've got LinkedIn, which is one of the biggest, or probably the biggest professional social network online. Over the last 4 months, I think LinkedIn's had an 80% increase in daily users. So it just shows the power of social media. And then you've got up and coming platforms. You've got TikTok, which has been around for a while now, but is getting a lot more attention. It's predominantly focused towards the teenage market with lots of fun, cool videos. But they will be looking to monetize that platform soon. And as they look to monetize it, they need to attract an older sort of user base. And then you've got other platforms like YouTube, for example, which is huge, especially here in sort of UK. It's a huge platform where I suppose you get these influencers who have huge, quite impressive followings, over 1 million people following them in their specific area. So those are the main platforms I'd say here in UK that are relevant to the everyday person.
Indeed, as a business, where do you start with social media in terms of choosing a platform? You've just literally named a handful. Where does one start?
I think the most important thing is to identify who your target audience is. Once you've figured out who you're targeting, then you can look at which platforms to focus on. So, for example, if you're targeting, let's say, millennials, you'll be looking at millennials and younger. You'll be looking at Instagram. If you're looking at, like I said earlier, teenagers, you'll be looking at TikTok. If you're looking at professional services and I suppose bigger corporates, you'll be looking at LinkedIn. It just really just depends on who your target audience is. Once you've figured out who it is, whether it's age, location, industry, interests, you can then start to plan and strategize which platforms to focus on.
And does that have an effect in terms of content? Depending on the social media platform that you use, should you be planning your content around those platforms as well and your target market?
Yeah, I think with content, you should try to be sensitive to the platform you're focusing on, as well as maintaining the brand guidelines. So, for example, with LinkedIn, the sort of I suppose the captions and I suppose the actual words you use need to be quite professional. Whereas if you're posting on Instagram, you can be a bit trendy. You can use, for example, slang and hashtags. So I'd probably say for each social media platform it's a bit more sensitive, and I think you should try and tailor them. In particular for LinkedIn, because it's more of a professional network. The others are a bit more relaxed.
Indy, how important is social media today for the business world?
Oh man, that's such a broad question. I think in general, it's probably one of the most important tools at the moment, especially with COVID going on. Everyone's working from home. So the one way people stay connected is via social media, whether it is any of these social media platforms. So I think it is so important. You've also got your clients working from home, obviously your staff, your suppliers, and this is a great way to keep interacting and engaging with them, to make sure that they don't forget about you, to make sure that they know that you're still around, and that you're always at the back of their minds for when things get better. So now more than ever, with the digital world that we're in and people working from home, it's so important for businesses.
Indy, you mentioned interact and engage with your essentially users and network. How does one do that?
That's it's quite a broad answer. There are multiple ways. I think there are different tactics for each platform, and I think a big thing comes around to content. So if your content's really, really good, and I suppose for example, if your content's eye-catching on Instagram, hopefully you'll attract loads of people commenting and liking your pictures. Whereas, for example, with LinkedIn, if you're writing a blog or putting together an article, if the content on there is really valuable and relevant to your target audience, you'll hopefully start getting some really good engagement on there as well, where they'll be commenting and liking your post.
Just going back as well, in terms of, you see there's different types of content out there, like you mentioned, blogs and general educational posts. What's your thoughts on videos though? Because we see that a lot more now. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, video content is so important. We're always recommending our clients to create videos. And it's not just any old videos. I think you have to do professional videos that reflect your business and your brand values. Now, when it comes to videos, nowadays, people are so lazy. They've got their headphones in. Last thing they want to do is read a blog or an article. So if you can actually put that information into a short 30 second to a minute or 2 minute video with that exact same content, you'll notice that you get way more views and much higher level of engagement and a much bigger reach. Video content is just it's probably the single most important bit of content nowadays. And it's so important for your business.
Yeah, I certainly think videos are a key and should be done more often. But there's always the problem of coming up with an idea of what to film and how to do it as well. Would you say there's a good strategy or a set way that works?
What we do with our clients is when we're, for example, they are hiring us out to do a video shoot for them. We try and put together a storyboard. Let's say we're going to film 20 videos in one day. We'll put together a storyboard of rough ideas for each video, just so we've got a feel for what we're going to be filming. Also, another thing is when you're creating content for videos, is to try and not to have a script for the videos, because it is quite obvious when someone's speaking from in front of a camera that that it is scripted, and it can sort of put people off, if that makes sense. It makes you less engaging.
Yeah, not
So
natural.
we always, yeah, exactly. So we always say when you're putting together a video or a short video, come up with maybe 2 or 3 bullet points that you want to cover, and the rest just wing it. And I think people will just prefer that natural approach. And you can always take a couple of takes on it to make sure you nailed it.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of your bloopers video, which is a quite interesting way to release video, because it seems more natural. I personally see it.
Yeah. So whenever we do these video shoots, we always put together a bloopers video. Bloopers video are so funny. They're so engaging. They show the real human sides to that company or those individuals, and it makes them really relatable. And I think people love that. And every time we posted out one of these bloopers videos, the uptake and the views and the comments and the engagement is far superior than any other bit of content that they put out.
Another question for you, Indy, is in terms of majority of the businesses on social media, their purpose or their goal is to essentially generate revenue. How does a business target and measure this? Is this something that you can essentially look at previous statistics and measure?
I mean, it's a tough one, right? There's a couple of ways to generate revenue through social media. Some could be inbound leads. Inbound leads are a bit more difficult. I think it comes down to your engagement levels and your content. And if you're putting out great stuff, you might pick up a couple of leads off the back of that. The other option is the paid advertisement route. So you can pay, for example, for Facebook ads, Instagram ads, LinkedIn ads, for example, where you effectively allocate a budget to the platform, and you'll be targeting that specific target audience of yours to attract more inbound leads coming in that way. And the final way is obviously organic. You could actually reach out yourself manually to these individuals from your accounts or from your social media accounts, and to try and get some sort of rapport and to try and build a conversation.
So, Indy, in terms of engagement, how often does a business needs to be present on social media?
That's a real difficult one. I mean, some people post every single day. Some post maybe once a week. It really depends on the platform, your tone of voice, I suppose your goal for a campaign. I always try and recommend to our client is to have some sort of presence, but don't go over the top with your post, and don't be spammy, because you'll lose credibility then. So for example, on my personal LinkedIn, I only post maybe every once or 2 weeks, but I know that every time I do post on it, I'll probably get maybe like 10,000 views or more on each of my posts. So because I know that when I do post, it's a quality post, and it's exactly the sort of post that works for my following on LinkedIn. So it really just depends. I think it comes down to trial and error. Try out a few things, see what works, what doesn't work, and then run with it. I would always recommend those is quality over quantity.
Yeah, I think quality is important, and the thing is that you don't need to be discouraged when you're only having like 20 views or 25 views from the post you made. As you said, you don't need to be like too spammy, and just wait and improve on the quality of your post. Your highlight on the importance and benefits altogether have been the analysis of different businesses and business ventures. This has led to many social media companies. An example, IC Media, to Europe so far. My question to you will be, why should companies and decision makers outsource their social media to these type of companies?
I think there's a few reasons: time, speciality, and also money. Um, I think outsourcing to a company like mine is going to be cheaper than hiring someone in-house full time. By you outsourcing everything over to us, it will save you a hell of a lot of time. You won't have to worry about anything. It's going to be handled. And also we're specialists in what we do. We always get results, and I think that's a huge one. If you hire someone, a junior person within your team, and paying them, let's say, an average salary of £30,000 a year, you may not get the desired results for that person. So outsourcing over to a client to a company like ours, you're almost guaranteed to get great results.
Therefore, Indy, any professional tips to those companies willing to invest into social media?
I think some tips are, I would say, once you identify your goal, that's really, really important. And then identify your target audience. And then when it comes to content, don't be afraid to push the boat out a bit. I think it's trial and error with social media. You've got to figure out what works for you. So don't be discouraged if you're only getting low engagement. Just change things up a bit. And I'm sure things will change once you figure out what works for you and your business.
If I was to be looking into social media as a career, where do I start, Indy? Is there any specific certification?
I mean, to be fair, from my point of view as a hiring manager, I don't really look at any certifications. That doesn't really bother me at all. I would, if the person has experience of working with other clients, I'd be more interested to see the sort of content they put out there, the results they've achieved for those clients. We'll also be interested in looking at their own social media, look at the content that they create, because I think that's more important. Another big thing is actually their skill with the English language, because we are effectively content creators. It's very important for their English skills to be great with their range of vocabulary, and also spelling. Spelling is so important. You need to make sure that there's never any spelling mistakes when creating content for your clients.
I agree with that one. I agree with the spelling one.
Yeah, it can occasionally. It's one of those ones where, as a content creator, you may just miss an e at the end of a spelling, but then the client will notice it. So you want to try and avoid those situations as much as possible.
It could be changing the meaning of the post as well.
Indy, what's next for IC Media? What's the future hold?
I think we're going to keep growing, keep picking up clients and growing. Obviously, at the moment, we're focusing on purely just sort of social media, video content, and also SEO. But I think as we do get bigger, I'd like to create bigger campaigns, potentially work with some bigger corporates would be really cool for us, and also look at more opportunities internationally. I think that's the plan over the next 2 years, and hopefully we'll see how it goes.
Excellent. Sounds great.
Join us again on our next webcast when we'll be discussing more about different fields of training. Make sure you do visit us at acudemy.com and sign in to our mailing list. Thank you from your host, Shameem and Yousouf. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.